Breaking news from Boston, Massachusetts, a city steeped in history and mystery. Tonight, we peel back the layers of American history to reveal a hidden truth that has been buried for generations. Behind the gilded monuments and revered family names lies a dark secret. One that reveals the foundations of some of America's greatest fortunes were built on the global opium trade, a trade that shaped the world. We've uncovered compelling evidence connecting elite families, Roosevelt, Forbes, Astor, to a drug trade that not only devastated China but also created powerful dynasties in America. This isn't mere conspiracy, it's a chapter of history deliberately erased from the public consciousness, hidden in plain sight. The story begins not in New York or Washington, but on the South China Sea, with fast ships, ruthless merchants, and the lucrative trade of opium. In the 19th century, American families trafficked thousands of tons of opium into China, defying Chinese law and reaping staggering profits that would echo through history. These fortunes funded prestigious universities, grand museums, and influential political careers, laundering reputations and rewriting history in their favor. Tonight we follow the money trail from Canton's opium dens to the manicured lawns of Harvard and Yale, uncovering the hidden connections. This is more than a story about the past. It forces us to question the true foundations of American power and privilege, and what it means for our future. The hidden history we reveal tonight is both shocking and undeniably true, challenging us to rethink what we know about our nation's legacy. The Roosevelt name conjures images of presidents, statesmen, and the very fabric of American leadership. But behind the public legacy lies a lesser-known story of immense wealth and ambition. That fortune began with FDR's grandfather, Warren Delano Jr., a senior partner in America's largest opium syndicate, Russell and Company. Delano's business acumen and willingness to take risks in the volatile China trade set the stage for the Roosevelt dynasty. Delano was no minor player. He was a kingpin, orchestrating deals that spanned continents. His fortune fueled generations of privilege, power, and influence, shaping the lives of his descendants. The Forbes family, too, built their empire on the lucrative opium trade, before investing in America's railroads and expanding their reach into new industries. The Perkins family, namesake of the Perkins School for the Blind, pioneered the opium trade, setting a lucrative precedent for other American families to follow. Elite universities bear the names of these families: the Lows, the Russells, the Forbes, all enriched by the China trade, a polite euphemism for narcotics smuggling that funded scholarships, buildings, and endowments. Seth Low became president of Columbia University. The Russell name is etched into Yale's Skull and Bones Society, a secretive club for the nation's future leaders. These families formed a powerful aristocracy, intermarrying and managing fortunes together, consolidating their influence in both business and politics. The Boston Brahmins, Cabots, Lodges, Cushings were all tied to the opium trade, their names synonymous with old money and social prestige. Their success was built not just on business acumen, but on exploiting a foreign nation for profit, fueling addiction and suffering across oceans. Behind their facade of morality and philanthropy was a willingness to profit from addiction and human misery, a dark legacy hidden beneath polished reputations. The money that built these dynasties was soaked in opium, a fortune born from shadows, shaping America's elite for generations to come. The opium trade was a ruthless, highly organized business. Britain grew opium in India, but needed intermediaries to smuggle it into China, where it was banned. American merchants stepped in, buying opium in India or Turkey and loading it onto their state-of-the-art clipper ships. These ships, built for speed, outran pirates and Chinese authorities, anchoring at offshore islands like Linton, floating warehouses just outside Chinese jurisdiction. There, opium was sold to Chinese smugglers, who ferried it to the mainland under cover of darkness. Payment came in silver, which Americans used to buy tea, silk, and porcelain, goods sold for huge profits back home. The trade reversed a massive deficit with China and generated fortunes. A single voyage could yield millions in today's dollars. Russell and Company and other American firms dominated this network, bribing officials and employing armed guards. They created a sophisticated financial system to handle the flow of silver. This was one of history's most profitable criminal enterprises, run by men later celebrated as pillars of American society. The opium trade was the engine behind their rise. At the heart of America's opium empire was the clipper ship, sleek, fast, and meticulously engineered for speed. These vessels weren't just marvels of maritime technology, they were purpose-built for smuggling, designed to outpace rivals and authorities alike. Clippers could cross vast oceans in record time, slashing weeks off traditional journeys. This speed maximized profits, allowing merchants to deliver their illicit cargo before competitors and to slip past vigilant Chinese patrols. Firms like Russell and Company commissioned legendary ships, Sea Witch, Flying Cloud, whose daring captains became celebrities. their exploits chronicled in both business circles and popular lore. Newspapers celebrated these ships as icons of American ambition and ingenuity, filling columns with tales of record-breaking voyages, while rarely mentioning the true nature of their cargo. Clippers were more than mere transport. They served as floating command centers, where powerful merchants negotiated deals, managed crews, and oversaw the massive transfer of opium from hold to shore. Men like Warren Delano Jr. and John Murray Forbes lived aboard for months at a time, orchestrating their illicit business from cramped cabins, far from the reach of law enforcement. By the 1830s, American ships trafficked thousands of tons of opium into China each year, an industrial-scale operation that dwarfed even the largest modern drug cartels, flooding Chinese ports with narcotics. In America, these ships were hailed as symbols of progress and national pride. In China, they were demonized as harbingers of addiction, humiliation, and social decay. The gleaming white sails and elegant lines of the clippers masked a devastating trade, their beauty concealing the misery stowed below deck. The clipper ship became the physical embodiment of American power and impunity. Cutting through Chinese waters with little fear of reprisal. The scale of the operation was staggering, a relentless flood of narcotics that hooked an entire nation, overwhelming Chinese society and authorities. The engines of addiction were celebrated with parades and pride at home, but their true legacy was one of devastation and ruin abroad, leaving scars that would last for generations. As American fortunes soared, China paid the price. Opium addiction exploded, from a rare medicinal use to a public health crisis affecting millions. By the mid-1800s, up to 12 million Chinese were addicted, from laborers to officials. The social fabric unraveled, productivity collapsed, families were destroyed, and crime soared. Opium dens spread, and the government was crippled by addiction and corruption. The Chinese army, ravaged by addiction, left the nation vulnerable to foreign aggression. Economically, the opium trade reversed centuries of Chinese trade surpluses. Silver flowed out of China, triggering depression, devaluation, and poverty. The country was drained of wealth to pay for the drug, destroying its people. American merchants saw the devastation firsthand, but ignored desperate pleas from the Chinese emperor. In private, they expressed contempt for the Chinese, viewing addiction as a moral failing. The immense human cost was dismissed as an acceptable price for profit. The suffering in China was a direct result of American greed. The opium trade left a nation in ruins. With fortunes secured, America's opium barons faced a new challenge: respectability. They launched a calculated campaign to transform drug money into philanthropy, funding universities, museums, and hospitals. The Russell family's opium wealth helped found Yale's Skull and Bones. The Lowe family funded Columbia's expansion. Harvard, Princeton, and the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston all benefited from opium-funded donations. These gifts bought prestige, embedding the barons' names into the foundations of American society. The arts, railroads, libraries, even churches, were built with money from Canton's opium dens. This was not repentance, but a strategic investment in legacy. By laundering their reputations, the opium barons ensured their families would be remembered as civic leaders, not criminals. For over a century, the public celebrated their generosity, unaware of the true source of their wealth. History itself was laundered, along with the money. The whitewashing of the opium fortunes went beyond philanthropy. It was a deliberate rewriting of history. Families commissioned flattering biographies, destroyed incriminating documents, and sanitized the story of the China trade. Memoirs spoke of the India trade, or Turkey trade, never naming opium. This conspiracy of silence was enforced by control over publishing, universities, and historical societies. For decades, historians who uncovered the truth struggled to be heard. The official history became the only history, and the opium barons faded into myth. The result, a profound gap in America's understanding of its own past. The Great Whitewash allowed descendants to enjoy their fortunes, free from stigma. The greatest irony came as attitudes toward drugs shifted in the 20th century. The same elite families who built fortunes on opium now led the charge for its criminalization. They used their influence to pass America's first anti-drug laws, targeting immigrants and the poor. Having secured their wealth, they positioned themselves as guardians of public morality. Men whose grandfathers were drug lords now sponsored laws that punished the powerless for the same crimes. Dr. Hamilton Wright, architect of the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, moved in the same circles as the opium barons' descendants. The problem was reframed as foreign depravity, not elite American greed. This hypocrisy created a two-tiered system. The powerful erased their crimes, while the poor were punished. The laws were written by the heirs of the original drug lords. For over a century, this history was buried, but the truth survived in the archives. Shipping manifests, private letters, and account books tell the undeniable story. The clipper ship Ariel, loaded with opium in Turkey, offloaded its cargo in Canton, and returned with tea and silver. Russell and Company's ledgers detail staggering profits and strategies for bribing officials. The evidence is irrefutable, etched in ink, not myth. The enduring power of these families created a national amnesia around the opium trade. But as historians dig deeper, the silence is breaking. The uncomfortable truth is emerging, challenging myths of American exceptionalism and meritocracy. What does it mean that our most revered institutions were funded by drug money? The line between legitimate business and criminal enterprise has often been perilously thin. History is contested ground. The story we're told serves the powerful. The real story, hidden in the archives, is far more complex and far more disturbing. It's time to confront the true origins of American wealth and power.